The Switch 2 has got some problems. It's not a perfect console. I picked it up on day one, and I've been playing it a lot since. I know all the ins and outs. And I put together a list about the things that I don't like about the Switch 2, the things that I think are problems, issues, things that need to be resolved or should be resolved. So in this video, I'm going to break that down. But before I get into that, I do want to say overall, I still really like the Switch 2. And from a hardware perspective, I do think it is a really great console. So you will see that most of the issues, most of the things I don't like are related around the software. So let's get into it and let's start with the first on the list, which is the Switch 2 sleep functionality. So over time, I've been realizing that every time I put my Switch 2 to sleep and come back to it, there's a pretty significant battery drain. And this is becoming more noticeable the more that I use it. I'll play it, I'll put it down for a day or two, come back to it, and it will be like 50%, 75% dead, the battery. So there's some significant drain on the battery when the Switch 2 is sleeping. And that was never something that I really noticed with the Switch 1. So to me, it definitely feels like a more prevalent, a bigger issue on the Switch 2. Right, so I don't know if that's something Nintendo can necessarily patch or fix. I assume it would be. And I have heard people saying that what's happening is that while it's sleeping, there's still a lot going on with the Switch, right? There's still communication, it's polling for updates, there's things happening in the background that are draining the battery, which makes sense. And I've heard people talking about, well, disable automatic updates, put it into airplane mode, these type of things will help, reduce the battery drain. Haven't tried that yet, but those are some things I'm going to try, but I don't think this should really be an issue in the first place. And kind of piggybacking on that problem is that, well, you can always just turn the Switch 2 completely off, right? But this is a problem that's bothered me for the last 7 years since the Switch 1, which is to turn it off, you need to hold the power button down, navigate through the menu, and do a full shutdown, right? And it might not sound like much, but when you've had to do that for 7 years with the Switch 1, and now they carried it over to the Switch 2, it's like a little pebble in your shoe that just slowly grinds you down. I hate that you have to do that, and I want Nintendo to just add a full shutdown option on the main menu, right? I don't want to have to hold the power button down for 3 seconds, however long it is, navigate, shut it down all the time. Just let me shut it down from the main menu. That's going to help with these battery drain issues I'm seeing, and it's just going to make the experience better for me. So I don't know why they've been so reluctant to add that on the UI, but it's something that just I really hate because one, I don't want my battery draining, and two, I just want to be able to easily shut it down. So I don't know why Nintendo doesn't do that. I assume, maybe they're collecting some data when it's in sleep mode. Who knows? Like, I don't know what their reason is to want to basically have all their users keeping their Switch ons at all time. But, the other consoles aren't doing that. So Nintendo, you got to do something about that. Let's get that shutdown button on the main menu. Now, the next issue or problem I have with the Switch 2 is with the UI. And what bothers me about the UI is that it's basically just the Switch 1 UI. And when you get a next gen console, when you pay for that big upgrade, you want it to feel different. You want it to look new, look exciting. And Nintendo didn't really deliver there. They basically just gave you the same UI from the Switch 1. And not that there's anything wrong with the UI, like it's pretty good, it's fine. But I just wanted something fresh, something new, or at least give us some more options to make it customizable. Because, it kind of takes away from that feeling of a new next gen console having the same UI. And historically, you don't really see that with consoles where they keep the same UI like that. So, kind of different. I'm not too happy about that. I really would have loved a new UI, something new to spice it up, make it look, feel different. When I turn on my Switch 2, I want to feel and know that I'm on a Switch 2. I don't want to get, Switch 1 UI flashbacks. So that's kind of a small nitpick that I have about the Switch 2 UI. I couldn't make this video without talking about the dreaded game key cards. And I've never talked about it really on this channel much, but I really dislike game key cards. Everything they stand for, I just hate the thought of them. I've never bought one. I'm not sure. I don't think I ever will. But every time Nintendo announces a new game coming out on the Switch 2, and I get excited for it, and then I find out it's going to be on a game key card, it just takes the wind out of my sails. I don't like it. I want physical games. I don't want that little game key card banner on the bottom of my, Switch case. I mean, I just don't like the direction they're going. I don't like that Nintendo is pushing and, kind of trying to lead the industry towards this game key card digital age. And I know they're not the first ones to kind of push digital, but they're taking it to a new level with these game key cards. And I really dislike it. I really hope Nintendo changes their tune there. I'm not the only one that feels this way. There's a lot of people, and my hope is by talking about it, you know, it just pushes back more and more. And that's what we need. We need to push back on things we don't like in all areas of life, right? Let your voices be known. So that's really also the hope with this video, is that by talking about these issues, putting these ideas into the universe, maybe some of them will get resolved. But game key cards, that's a big no-no for me, and probably the thing that I hate and dislike most about the Switch 2. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, something that also carried over from the Switch 1, the original Switch, is the lack of D-pad. Again, we get another Switch console with no D-pad, and again, Nintendo doesn't come out with an official left Joy-Con with a D-pad. And I know that the original Switch, Nintendo ended up teaming with Hori to release D-pad Joy-Cons. I have one here actually. So that's my original Switch. And I've got a nice little Zelda themed D-pad Joy-Con there. But even though Nintendo teamed up with Hori and came out with these D-pads, they weren't quite at the same Joy-Con quality. Like, you can take this off, you can feel like it's way lighter, it's more flimsy, it doesn't have the full functionality of a Joy-Con. So I really want Nintendo to just release official Nintendo D-pad Joy-Cons. It's not too much to ask. They should just be there at launch. You don't even need to pack it in with the console, but they should be on shelves, left Joy-Cons with the D-pad, because people like me, we like to play a lot of fighting games, and the Switch has tons of great fighting games, collections. I play those on the Switch too, so I just want to get that D-pad. There's no D-pad that I've seen yet. But more importantly, we need an official Nintendo D-pad. This is basic functionality, basic stuff. And it would have just, it would have just improved the Switch 2 for me, because we didn't really truly get that on the Switch 1. So that's my last issue, my last gripe with the Switch 2. Now, all in all, I don't want this to be a video bashing the Switch 2, because I do really like the console. I don't regret buying it. I'm having fun with it. But I think it's important to, let let your voice be heard. Talk about the things you don't like so that it can be improved, right? That's the purpose of this video. It's not to bash Nintendo, to bash the Switch 2. It's to talk about what I don't like, in hopes that I'll add to the collective of people talking about these things, and maybe we'll see some improvements. So, all right, that's it. Those are the main problems that I have with the Switch 2, and you're probably thinking, those aren't huge problems, and you're right, they're not. But they're problems to me nonetheless, and my hope with this video is that Nintendo will listen. I'll add to the people talking about these issues, and maybe we'll get some improvement, right? But I do want to say, I don't want this video to come off, bashing the Switch 2. I really do like the console. I'm having fun with it. Definitely don't regret picking it up. Um, but I do want to see some changes. I do want to see improvements, right? And we need to hold Nintendo to the fire, let them know what we want, and hope that they'll listen to the fans, because there's definitely some problems, and there's room for improvement. So if you like this video, definitely like, subscribe for more, and more importantly, leave a comment below. Let me know what problems you think the Switch 2 has. Did I miss anything big? Let me know. I'm definitely curious. And that's it. Have a good day.